Hey folks, today's video is aimed at all of you spellcasters out there because I've got different ways to keep track of your spells. So this is mainly geared towards Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder, but if you have another fantasy type system, sci-fi that has magic, that has spell slots, stuff like that, then these apply to you as well. So the first method is just your character sheet. Character sheets have a spot to write in your spells. Go ahead and write it in there. I think this method works best if you're a spellcaster who has a small number of spells that you can cast, like a warlock or a ranger, because you don't have to write out as much, as well as like for clerics, paladins, druids, folks who have to kind of prepare spells each day. Your spell list is going to change a lot versus a warlock or a ranger. A sorcerer, you know this number of spells, and that's not going to change until you level up. Now, the drawback with this is oftentimes character sheets just don't have space to really write out a full description of the spell. You might have maybe space to put in like a cheat sheet or reference, like the spell is on this page of the player's handbook. Which I will suggest you do if you don't write out the full text of the spell, or even if you do, always write down the page number it's on. That way, if there's any question of, okay, does this spell specifically target an individual? Is it targeting an area? Does it say humanoid versus creature? Those things that sometimes come up in game that you may not anticipate, having the page number written down makes it much easier to quickly go and look it up and verify what the spell is. Okay, but maybe you have more spells that will fit in your character sheet. So here are a couple of different ways to keep track of them. If you're playing like a cleric or a druid where you know you have access to all of the spells, what I did when I was playing a cleric is I put together a spell book. So I took quite a lot of time and typed out, transcribed from the player's handbook, all of the spells into a list so that then I didn't have to go through and try and find like what are all of the cleric spells. And then also if you've got like multiple source books, you can compile them all into one. And then I had a quick cheat sheet at the very beginning of this. I wish I could find it. I've been looking for this and I can't find it around my house. So if I do find it, I'll throw up pictures or post pictures of it on our social media. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. But I had a quick guide at the very beginning that just listed all the spells by names, and then he had it broken down alphabetical by level. And I found this was very helpful because then if I was like, oh, we're going into a weird situation, I know I've got something that should work for this, but I want to double check the wording of the spell before I prepare it. Great, I had it all right there, and then I didn't have to lug around the entire player's handbook. Also, I will say, if you're a spellcaster that prepares your spells every day from a wide list of spells, go ahead and do yourself a favor and come up with a standard prepared list. So this is if you don't really know what the day is going to entail, if there's nothing that's going to be super specific, like I know we're not getting involved in underwater stuff, so I don't need to worry about water breathing, but just like we're in town, we might be going adventuring, we might run into some kobolds, I don't know. Having a set of this is kind of your character's go-to spell list is very helpful, because then you don't have to go through all of your spells every single day, every time you have a long rest, and go, which ones am I picking? You can just go, okay, unless otherwise noted, this is the list of spells that I'm going to prepare for the day, and then you can swap those out for specific situations. Now, you can also easily do this for classes like a warlock or a bard or sorcerer, where you just put together your own spell list of the spells that you have access to. This probably is going to take like a page or two. Another way for keeping track of your spells are spell cards, if you can see them. These ones I got from RNW. I had been looking for some Warlock spell cards, and just every time I was in the store, I could find every other class but Warlock, and she had them, so I printed them off, cut them out, I colored in the box. But most systems have spell cards put out by the publisher, as well as independent artists oftentimes will put out some spell cards. These are helpful, I think, especially for classes that have a smaller prepared list, like a warlock. I have pulled out all of the cards that my character, Key 3, you can go check out Too Many Warlocks up here, that Key 3 has prepared. But I also have like a special magical item that allows me access to cantrips. I have to roll like an Arcana check, but any cantrips that a warlock knows. So that was super helpful to then have the spell cards. Forgot the word. To have the spell cards, because then I can pull those out, check over those very easily, and those aren't things that are on my character sheet. Now the nice thing with the spell cards is I can write all of the spells on my character sheet to track how many spells I've used, all of that, and then the spell cards has all of the info you need in a very easy to understand organization of like, okay, it tells you vocal, somatic, material, what the components are. It has the description of it. All of that stuff is there, easy to use. And it is also nice if your GM has a question, you can just hand them the card instead of pulling out the entire book. Plus, small, lightweight, easy to carry around. Alternatively, you might have a character journal that has a good spot for filling in spells, like the Field Notes guide has a page for favorite and frequent spells. You can write them all in there, as well as like the spellcasting table. And the Mischief and Misadventure, made by Rook and Raven, has a spells table. And also I found the quads were really great for writing out the text of the spell. I did this before I got the spell cards. And the nice thing I discovered with the spell cards, because warlocks, you can change what spells you know when you level up. You can swap one lower level out if you want. So that was nice. I didn't have to refill out the page. I just pull out a different card, let my game master know, hey, I swapped these out. And then there's my list of known spells. And whether you are writing out your own spell book or you're writing things into a character sheet or a character journal, you can either write out a cheat sheet guide, abbreviation of the spell, or write out the full thing. The nice thing with writing an abbreviation is it takes less space. It might also be a good way for you to understand the spell and kind of put it in your own words and then remember what the spells do. If you do that, like I said earlier, make sure to write down the page number, what source book it's from, and the page number, so you can go back and reference it if there is any question of exact wording of the rules. And then obviously the writing the full thing out word for word how it appears in the source book is you have those exact rules, so if there's any question you don't have to go back to the source book, but that does mean it takes up potentially a bit more space than writing an abbreviated. Alright, so there you go. Those are some of the ways that I've kept track of spells and kind of what I've found works best for the different kinds of classes. If you have a way of tracking spells that you really like or that I didn't mention, let's talk about it more down in the comments below. I'd love to know if there's any other tools out there. I have seen little markers for keeping track of how many spell slots you have. That's pretty cool. I haven't gotten into any of that. I just, pencil things in and erase it to keep track of it. Or on Roll20, it keeps track of it. A big thanks to all of our patrons, especially Alicia. If you want to support our channel, you can head over to our Patreon page and check out the perks of being a patron. So if you enjoyed this video, I hope you give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe because we make videos here every week. Make sure that you're following us on social media. That's where we post kind of bonus stuff we're doing, extra episodes, and talking about shows that we're on that you can come watch us play. Alright, I'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative. Bye!